Hey guys, Jason here. So, first off, before we dive into this video, hope you guys had a happy new year. This is my first video. I'm recording this in 2026, so we have entered a new age in this channel. But today, I want to take a few minutes just to kind of break down the recent Pittsburgh Penguins transactions because they've done a lot of player moving since the holiday roster freeze. Not to mention, you got players that are going to be coming back from injury. So I figured there's been a lot of debate as to how these lines are going to shake out. So I figured let's go ahead and break that down as to how I would make these lines if I were Coach Muse in this video with my reasoning. So real quick, before any of the trades happened, this down here is our current Pittsburgh Penguins lines from their last game. Let me go ahead and slide this over a little bit so you guys can see everything. Well, your first line is Rickard Rakell, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust. That second line being Anthony Mantha, Tommy Novak, and Justin Brazeau, who's been popping off right lately. Third line was Rucker McGroarty. The kid line, Rucker McGroarty, Ben Kindle, Ville Koivunen. Fourth line, Connor Dewar, Blake Lizotte, and Noel Acciari. Alright, so now we want to take a look real quick at the moves made recently by the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, first and foremost, I have these in a little bit out of order. Let's go ahead and start with this point here. Evgeni Malkin has returned to pre-practice skates, skating alongside Philip Hollander, and he's been looking pretty good. He's been shooting well, he's been moving well, he's been looking really good. There's still no timeline yet on his return, but it could be imminent, not necessarily imminent, but relatively soon. So that is important to note. They also made a trade with the Columbus Blue Jackets to send Danton Heinen, a 2026 second-round pick, and a 2027 third-round pick to the Blue Jackets in exchange for Yegor Chinakhov, which I really love this move, by the way. This is one of my favorite moves the Penguins have made as of late. I mean, it's incredible. Chinakhov has the talent, and I think he finds a good home in Pittsburgh. I think he gels with the team and does really well. They also just made a move earlier today, trading Phillip Tomasino to Philadelphia for Egor Zamula, which is, in my book, kind of a nothing burger. It's a wash of a trade. Zamula has had some issues, potentially with, disciplinary and, mentality issues. So there are some concerns there. So I think that he's really not going to be seeing too much action. But that is an important thing to note as well. And then lastly, they did send Ryan Graves, defensive player, to Wilkes after passing through waivers earlier today. So he is now on his way to Wilkes. He's going to be reporting there for an assignment there. So real quick, I want to talk about the defensive pairings. I don't think that Egor Zamula really moves the needle at all. I think since Ryan Graves was kind of that rotational defensive player to rotate in on the third line as needed, as seen fit, after the Kulak trade, things have changed on that defensive front. Well, really the Stu trade, but either way, it's still Kulak in that trade as well. I really don't think that Egor Zamula is going to be a big impactful player, especially because Jack St. Ivany and Ryan Shea have really been looking good on that third pair. You're not going to move him up into the top four defensive players. So he's going to be fighting for time in that third pair. I don't think he's going to get that much time, if I'm being honest. All right, so what do I think that the Penguins lines would look like after getting Chinakhov in there before Gino would return? Well, I think it's a pretty straightforward answer. If I were in there, my first line, I would remain that exactly the same. Keep that Rakell, Crosby, Rust line. They've been clicking. I don't think there's going to be too many changes. I think pre-Gino return, you're going to see some movement, and then after Gino returns, you're going to see a bit bigger movement. But pre-Gino return, I don't think you're going to see too much movement here. Your first line's been really putting together points. They've been playing very well. The chemistry has been there, so I would not touching that first line. Same thing with the second line. Mantha, Novak, Brazeau, they have been playing really well together as a unit. That's part of the reason that Justin Brazeau went off and got his first hat trick in Chicago. So I think that second line has been really playing well together. Those three players need to stay together because they've been getting it done effectively, efficiently, and productively. This third line is where we start to see some motion. So I have Yegor Chinakhov starting off on the third line. The kid line is unfortunately going to have to be broken up because the top six have been playing very effectively. Yegor's going to be a middle six kind of player. He's not going to be on that last line. I also don't want to mess up that last line too much because they've been very well together as of late. So I think Chinakhov on a winger on that third line is going to be good. Kindle staying center. And I picked Ville Koivunen. It's really a toss-up. You could put in Rucker McGroarty right there, the same exact thing. I don't think there's too much of a difference. I think Ville Koivunen is more apt to the NHL right now because he's been getting consistent playtime since October. So I think he's going to be the one that's more likely to slide on in there full time. But that being said, you could put in Rucker McGroarty. I'm not opposed to that. I just like Ville a bit more. So I kind of hinted at it earlier, that fourth line, as soon as Blake Lizotte came back, that fourth line has been clicking. Dewar, Lizotte, and Acciari have been moving, they've been playing well together. Chemistry has been instantaneous with that group. So again, I don't think you're going to touch what's not broken on that line. So this is where it gets interesting. After Gino returns, I think is where we're going to see the biggest shakeup in the lines. And I don't think it's going to be a lot of movement of players within lines, like across lines. I think it's really going to be a movement of the lines themselves. So let's go ahead and get on into my first line. My first line is going to remain the same as it was before. Again, Raquel, Crosby, Russ, they have been playing some incredible hockey together. I don't think that this team needs to change that first line. They've been very effective, very efficient at getting the job done. Now the second line is where we get some movement. This is where I have that third line moving up into the second line. You're basically reconstructing that entire kid line. Again, I have Chinakhov and Kindle still, but I have Malkin as the center on that line. I think Kindle has experience playing out on the wing. He did play on that top line for a little bit. Remember, he did play alongside Crosby for a little bit, so he does have top six experience. And again, I think that if you slowly swap out players on that line, if you wanted to put Ville Koivunen or Rucker McGroarty in there, again, I don't think you could go wrong. I just think Kindle that is a more developed prospect right now and more ready to go to that second line as opposed to anyone else. Again, moving from second to third line is not really going to be much of a difference. I think second and third line in this situation is going to get about equal playing time because they're just both going to be very efficient and effective at what they do. I just think that really it's more of an ego thing for Malkin as to why I have him on that second line. And the reason I don't mess up that second line is, again, the chemistry. The chemistry there with Mantha, Novak, and Brazeau has been there. I don't want to throw that for a loop by throwing Evgeni Malkin in that line necessarily. I might test the waters with it, but I don't know that I want to mess it up long term. So I kind of hinted at it earlier. That third line is going to be effectively the second line, but they're going to get equal time, I would imagine. There's going to be 3 goal-scoring lines and 1 primarily checking line for the most part, I would see. So I have Mantha, Novak, and Brazeau going down to that third line, but again, they're going to get about equal time to the second line. It's just the problem with the Penguins right now is they just have so much depth in pieces and numbers. If you really wanted to, if you want to get crazy, there is something else I can see, and I will outline it here in a little bit after I get through this fourth line that just kind of came to me now as I'm recording this. But let's go ahead and go to that fourth line. Big surprise, the fourth line stays the same with Dewar, Lizotte, and Chari. Again, they've been playing some really good hockey together. They've been putting it together since Lizotte's come back, so I don't want to mess up the chemistry on that line. Now, as to those moves I hinted about, if you really want to make a bit of a splash, you could throw either Anthony Mantha or Justin Brazeau in this slot of Ben Kindle right here. So for the sake of argument, let's just throw Justin Brazeau up here because he's been more productive as of late. Ben Kindle, I don't know that you want to slide him out of the lineup, so maybe you put Ben Kindle here. Or you could put, Ville Koivunen or Rucker McGroarty. I mean, there's plenty of options. Let me go ahead and just kind of put in all the options here. These are kind of options that I see on that winger. You could put any of the kids on that if you really wanted to. If you really wanted to get crazy, I think Kindle could operate on that third line. He's done well with it. Again, Ville Koivunen and Rucker McGroarty, they've been living on that third line. So that could be your option if you really want to get crazy. But I think I would rather stick with what I had initially, with Justin Brazeau, with sticking with Novak and Mantha, getting some extra time on that third line, and Kindle moving up with Malkin and Chinakhov, because you're effectively building a whole new line from scratch. If you wanted to put in, let's say, I don't know, maybe Ville Koivunen, if you think he's ready to make that jump. I mean, there's plenty of options, but this is how I would do it, because I know Kindle has top 6 line experience, or top 6 experience. He also has played on the wing before, because he's played alongside Crosby when Raquel was hurt. So I think that there's genuine opportunity there when Gino comes back for Kindle to slide back out into a wing spot on the Malkin line. So yeah, this is ultimately what I would do if I were Coach Muse after Evgeni Malkin returns, after looking at the moves the Penguins made. Again, I wouldn't make any shifts to the defensive pairings. Goaltenders obviously are going to remain the same because they didn't do any goalie moves since the break. But that being said, I am going to leave this video here. We do play-by-play for hockey. We do a lot of Penguins games, a lot of times when we can. In fact, we'll be doing a Penguins game on Saturday against the Red Wings, I believe at 12 p.m. Either 12, 1 p.m. It's somewhere in that range on Saturday. It's an early afternoon game. We do play-by-play coverage, all that fun jazz for Pens games, among other hockey games. So with that being said, if that does interest you, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, we did hit over 550 subs by the end of 2025. We're trying to hit 1,000 by the end of 26. I think optimistically we could do it by Stanley Cup Finals, but it's going to take a lot of work. So every little sub counts down below. And with that, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out and have a good one.